In the heart of a vibrant metropolitan city, where the streets pulsed with life and the LGBTQ+ community thrived in colorful pockets of acceptance and celebration, lived Alex Chin. At 28, Alex had carved out a comfortable life for himself, a respectable job as a graphic designer, a cozy apartment in the artistic district, and a close-knit circle of friends who had become his chosen family. Alex was known for his quiet confidence, his thoughtful nature, and his ability to listen. He was the friend everyone turned to for advice, the steady presence in a group otherwise filled with more boisterous personalities. But beneath this composed exterior lay a young man still discovering himself, still navigating the complexities of his identity and desires. It was on a crisp autumn evening, during one of the regular Friday gatherings at their favorite bar, the Prism, that Alex first noticed Ryan differently. Ryan Martinez had been part of their friend group for nearly a year, having been introduced through a mutual acquaintance at a Pride event. With his infectious laugh, adventurous spirit, and the kind of smile that seemed to light up even the dimmest corners of a room, Ryan had quickly become a beloved addition to their circle. He worked as a physical therapist, his natural empathy and understanding of the human body making him exceptional at his job. Where Alex was reserved, Ryan was expressive. Where Alex calculated, Ryan leaped. They were different in many ways, yet there had always been an undeniable connection between them, a shared wavelength that neither could quite explain. That particular evening, as the group dispersed into smaller conversations, Ryan slid into the booth across from Alex, his eyes bright with excitement. "I've made a decision," he announced, taking a sip of his colorful cocktail. "I'm going to learn pole dancing." The statement hung in the air for a moment before Alex could process it. Ryan continued, his enthusiasm bubbling over. "I've been watching these amazing videos online. It's not what most people think. It's athletic, artistic, empowering, and I want to try it." Alex found himself intrigued by Ryan's passion. "That sounds challenging," he offered, genuinely curious about this sudden interest. Ryan nodded eagerly, leaning forward. "It is. That's why I need your help." There was a pause, a beat where their eyes met across the table, and Alex felt something shift between them. "I want you to come with me, be my support. Spot me while I learn." The request was simple enough, but there was something in Ryan's gaze, something in the way he asked that suggested this might be more than just a casual favor between friends. Let me explain why this moment matters in our story. This request, seemingly straightforward, represents the catalyst for everything that follows. It's the doorway through which both characters will walk, unknowingly embarking on a journey that will transform not just their relationship, but their understanding of themselves. In life, we often find that the most significant changes begin with the smallest decisions, saying yes when we might have said no, stepping outside our comfort zones for someone we care about. Alex hesitated, swirling the ice in his drink. "Spotting you? I don't know the first thing about pole dancing." Ryan's smile widened. "Neither do I. That's the beauty of it. We'll learn together." "Well, I'll learn the dancing part, and you'll learn the not letting me fall on my face part." He reached across the table, his fingers briefly touching Alex's hand. "Please?" "The studio offers beginner classes every Tuesday and Thursday evening. I've already checked your schedule. I know you're free." The fact that Ryan had already considered Alex's availability sent a warm flutter through his chest. It was thoughtful, presumptuous, and entirely characteristic of Ryan to have done his homework. "You've really thought this through, haven't you?" Alex asked, already knowing the answer. Ryan nodded, his expression turning slightly more serious. "I have. This isn't just a whim, Alex. I've been thinking about it for months. It represents something important to me, freedom, self-expression." He paused, his voice softening. "And honestly, I'd feel better having someone I trust there with me." Trust. The word hung between them, weighted with meaning. Alex found himself nodding before he'd fully processed his decision. "All right, I'm in. But if you fall and break something, I'm not explaining to your physical therapy colleagues how it happened." Ryan's face lit up with delight, and he reached across to squeeze Alex's hand gratefully. "You won't regret it. This is going to be amazing." As they rejoined their friends, Alex couldn't help but wonder what he'd just agreed to. Pole dancing wasn't something he'd ever considered, even peripherally. Yet here he was, committed to spending his Tuesday and Thursday evenings in a dance studio, helping Ryan pursue this new passion. There was nervousness, certainly. Stepping into an unfamiliar environment always brought that. But beneath it lay a current of excitement that surprised him. Perhaps it was the opportunity to spend more time with Ryan, or perhaps it was simply the break from routine. Either way, Alex found himself looking forward to Tuesday with unexpected anticipation. The following days passed in a blur of work deadlines and routine, but Tuesday arrived with a sense of novelty that energized Alex as he packed a small gym bag after work. He and Ryan had agreed to meet directly at Elevate Studio, a modern dance space that occupied the second floor of a renovated warehouse in the Arts District. As Alex approached the building, he spotted Ryan waiting outside, bouncing slightly on his toes in evident excitement. "You came," Ryan exclaimed, as though he'd half expected Alex to back out. He was dressed in fitted athletic shorts and a tank top that revealed the lean muscle of his arms, the result of his dedicated gym routine. Alex suddenly felt self-conscious in his more conservative workout clothes, but Ryan's welcoming smile dispelled his discomfort. "Ready for this adventure?" Ryan asked, holding the door open. Alex nodded, following him up the stairs toward what would become their sanctuary for the coming months. Elevate Studio was nothing like the dark, seedy place that stereotypes might have suggested. Instead, it was a bright, open space with high ceilings, polished hardwood floors, and several gleaming poles positioned throughout. The walls were lined with mirrors, and large windows allowed the golden evening light to spill across the room. What struck Alex immediately was the atmosphere, one of encouragement, professionalism, and artistic expression. There were about 10 other students of various genders, ages, and body types, all chatting comfortably as they stretched or prepared for class. Their instructor, Jade, introduced herself with a warm handshake and an approachable demeanor that immediately put Alex at ease. When Ryan explained that Alex was there as a support person, Jade nodded appreciatively. "That's great. Having someone spot you, especially in the beginning, can make all the difference. You're lucky to have such a supportive friend." The word friend echoed in Alex's mind as he took a seat on one of the benches along the wall, watching as Ryan joined the circle of beginners. The class began with fundamental stretches and strength exercises, which Ryan participated in with enthusiasm, if not perfect form. Alex found himself both amused and impressed by Ryan's determination, the way he listened intently to Jade's instructions and immediately attempted to implement them, regardless of how his body protested. When they finally moved to the actual poles, Jade demonstrated a basic spin, making it look effortless as she gripped the pole, took a small run, and twirled gracefully around it before landing softly on her feet. "Now it's your turn," she announced to the class. "Remember, this is about building confidence as much as technique. Your spotters should stand close, ready to support you if needed, but not interfering with your movement unless necessary." Ryan turned to Alex with a mixture of excitement and nervousness dancing in his eyes. "Ready for this?" he asked, his voice slightly higher than usual. Alex nodded, moving to stand beside the pole as Ryan took his position. "I've got you," Alex assured him, and he meant it, both in this moment and beyond. Ryan's first attempt was predictably awkward. He gripped the pole too tightly, his run-up was hesitant, and instead of spinning gracefully, he sort of shuffled around the pole while clinging to it for dear life. There was a moment of silence before Ryan burst into laughter, his forehead resting against the pole. "Well, that was nothing like the videos," he admitted, his shoulders shaking with mirth. Alex couldn't help but join in the laughter, the tension of the new situation dissolving between them. "Try again," Alex encouraged. "But this time, maybe trust the pole a bit more? You're holding it like it might run away from you." Ryan nodded, taking a deep breath and repositioning himself. This time, when he attempted the spin, Alex stood closer, one hand hovering near Ryan's waist, the other ready to catch his arm if needed. There was a moment, just a flash, where Ryan achieved something close to the intended movement, his body curving slightly as he began to spin. "There. That was better," Alex exclaimed as Ryan completed the attempt. Their eyes met in shared triumph, and something warm and electric passed between them. Ryan's hand came to rest on Alex's shoulder, steadying himself. "Thanks to my excellent spotter," he said, his voice softer than before, his touch lingering just a moment longer than necessary. As the class progressed, Alex found himself increasingly involved. What had started as passive observation became active participation as he helped Ryan position his hands correctly on the pole, offered encouragement after failed attempts, and celebrated the small victories. There was an intimacy to this exchange that neither had anticipated: the casual touches, the shared laughter, the vulnerability of trying and failing and trying again. By the end of the class, Ryan had managed to perform a basic spin without falling, and his face glowed with accomplishment. "That was incredible," he said as they gathered their things to leave. "Did you see that last one? I actually did it." His enthusiasm was contagious, and Alex found himself smiling broadly in response. "I did see. You're a natural," he replied, though they both knew this was a generous assessment. As they walked out into the cool evening air, Ryan suddenly stopped, turning to face Alex. "Thank you for doing this with me," he said, his expression sincere. "I know it's probably not how you imagine spending your Tuesday evening." Alex shook his head. "Actually, I had a good time. It was interesting." The word felt inadequate for the experience, for the strange new energy he felt humming between them, but it was all he could offer in the moment. Ryan's smile softened. "Same time Thursday?" he asked, and there was a hint of vulnerability in the question, as though he feared Alex might reconsider. But Alex found himself nodding without hesitation. "Same time Thursday," he confirmed, and the relief in Ryan's expression was worth any discomfort the evening might have caused. As they parted ways, Ryan heading toward his apartment in the northern part of the city, Alex toward his in the east, Alex found himself replaying moments from the class. The concentration on Ryan's face as he attempted each move, the feel of Ryan's waist beneath his steadying hand, the shared triumph of small successes. These images followed him home, lingered as he prepared for bed, and colored his dreams in shades of possibility. Thursday's class built upon Tuesday's foundation, with Jade introducing slightly more complex movements while continuing to emphasize safety and proper technique. Ryan arrived with a notebook full of YouTube tutorials he'd studied, eager to try everything at once. Alex found himself playing the voice of reason, encouraging Ryan to master the basics before attempting more advanced moves. "Patience isn't really my strong suit," Ryan admitted during a water break, wiping sweat from his brow. Alex chuckled. "I've noticed. But some things are worth taking slowly." There was a weight to his words that surprised even him, and Ryan's gaze lingered on his face a moment longer than usual, as though searching for hidden meaning. Over the following weeks, a routine developed. Tuesdays and Thursdays became sacred, set aside for their classes at Elevate. Ryan's progress was remarkable, his natural athleticism and determination combining to help him advance quickly through the beginner techniques. Alex's role evolved from passive spotter to active assistant, learning enough about the movements to provide meaningful guidance and support. But more significant than the physical progress was the deepening of their connection. The studio became a space where barriers lowered, where conversation flowed more freely than it ever had at their regular social gatherings. Perhaps it was the physical nature of their interaction, or the vulnerability inherent in learning something new, but both men found themselves sharing more of themselves than they had before. One Thursday evening, as they stretched before class, Ryan revealed the deeper motivation behind his interest in pole dancing. "My mother was a dancer," he explained, his voice soft with memory. "Not pole dancing, ballet, mostly. She always said that dance was the purest form of self-expression, that it allowed her to say things her voice couldn't." He paused, extending his leg in a stretch that had become familiar over the weeks. "She died when I was 15. Cancer. Sometimes I feel like I'm connecting with her when I dance, even though this is nothing like ballet." Alex absorbed this information, this precious piece of Ryan's history, with the reverence it deserved. "I think she'd be proud," he said finally. "Not just of the dancing, but of the courage it takes to try something new, something that matters to you." Ryan's eyes met his, bright with emotion and something else, appreciation, perhaps, for being truly seen and understood. In return, Alex found himself opening up about his own insecurities, his tendency to play it safe, to observe life rather than fully participate in it. "I've always been the responsible one, the planner," he admitted one evening as they walked home from class. "Sometimes I wonder what I've missed by always choosing the secure path." Ryan bumped his shoulder gently against Alex's. "Well, you're spotting a grown man learning pole dancing. I'd say that's a departure from the secure path." They both laughed, but there was truth in the observation that lingered between them. As their skills in the studio developed, so did the complexity of their feelings for each other. Alex found himself looking forward to their classes with an intensity that went beyond casual friendship. He noticed details about Ryan he'd never registered before, the way his eyes crinkled at the corners when he laughed, the small scar on his left shoulder from a childhood accident, the thoughtful expression he wore when concentrating on a new move. These observations collected in Alex's mind, piecing together a more complete picture of the man he was spending so much time with. For his part, Ryan seemed to be growing more comfortable with physical closeness outside the necessities of class. A hand on Alex's arm during conversation, sitting closer than necessary when they grabbed dinner after practice, lingering hugs when they parted ways, small gestures that might mean everything or nothing at all. Alex found himself analyzing each touch, each glance, trying to decipher the code of Ryan's intentions while simultaneously questioning his own. The turning point came approximately 2 months into their pole dancing journey. The studio was hosting a small showcase for students to demonstrate their progress, and Ryan had enthusiastically signed up to perform. He'd been practicing a routine that combined several of the techniques he'd mastered, and Alex had been helping him refine it during extra practice sessions on weekends. The evening of the showcase arrived with an electric atmosphere of excitement and nerves. The studio had been transformed with dimmed lighting and decorative elements, creating a more theatrical environment. Friends and family of the performers filled the space, creating an audience of about 50 people. Alex sat in the front row, his stomach knotted with anticipation that matched or exceeded Ryan's own. When Ryan's turn came, he stepped onto the small performance area with a confidence that belied his novice status. He wore black shorts and a simple tank top that highlighted the definition in his arms and shoulders, muscle that had become more pronounced through weeks of training. The music began, a haunting instrumental piece that Ryan had chosen for its emotional resonance, and he moved toward the pole with purpose. What followed was not technical perfection. There were moments of hesitation, transitions that didn't flow as smoothly as they had in practice. But what the performance lacked in polish, it made up for in raw emotion. Ryan moved with his heart exposed, each spin and climb and pose telling a story of loss and discovery, of honoring the past while embracing the present. Alex found himself holding his breath, moved beyond words by the vulnerability and beauty of Ryan's expression. When the music faded and Ryan struck his final pose, there was a moment of silence before the audience erupted in applause. Alex was on his feet immediately, clapping until his hands hurt, his chest tight with pride and something deeper, something he could no longer deny or ignore. As Ryan took a small bow, his eyes found Alex's in the crowd, and the connection between them felt almost tangible, a living thing with a heartbeat of its own. After the showcase, as the audience mingled with performers and congratulations flowed freely, Ryan made his way to Alex's side. "What did you think?" he asked, slightly breathless, his face flushed with exertion and emotion. Alex struggled to find words adequate to express what he'd witnessed, what he'd felt. "Ryan, you were incredible," he finally managed, his voice thick. "Truly. I've never seen anything like it." Ryan's expression softened, vulnerability replacing the post-performance adrenaline. "I couldn't have done it without you," he said quietly. "These past months, having you there, supporting me, believing in me, it's meant everything." He paused, seeming to gather courage. "You've meant everything." The words hung between them, laden with possibility. Alex felt his heart racing, aware that they stood at a precipice. Before he could respond, they were interrupted by another student offering congratulations, and the moment slipped away, leaving Alex with the echo of Ryan's words and the uncertainty of what might have followed. The interruption created a strange tension that persisted as they helped clean up after the showcase. Their usual easy conversation was replaced by charged silences and halting small talk. When they finally left the studio, the night air cool against their skin, Alex knew he couldn't let the evening end without addressing what had almost been said. "Do you want to walk for a bit?" he suggested as they reached the point where their paths would typically diverge. Ryan nodded, relief evident in his expression. They walked in silence for several blocks, the city quieter than usual, as though giving them space for what needed to be said. It was Ryan who finally broke the silence, stopping beneath the gentle glow of a streetlight. "I need to tell you something," he said, his voice steady despite the nervousness evident in his stance. "These past months, spending all this time together, it's changed things for me. Changed how I see you." He took a deep breath, meeting Alex's gaze directly. "I'm falling for you, Alex, and I need to know if I'm alone in this." The honesty of the declaration struck Alex with the force of physical impact. Here was the question that had been forming between them for weeks, now spoken aloud, impossible to ignore or misinterpret. In that moment, all of Alex's carefully constructed reasons for caution seemed to dissolve. What remained was the simple truth of his own feelings, clear and undeniable. "You're not alone," he said, his voice quiet but certain. "Not at all." Relief and joy washed over Ryan's face, and he stepped closer, one hand coming up to rest against Alex's cheek. "I was so afraid I'd misread everything," he admitted, "that I'd ruin our friendship by saying something." Alex shook his head slightly, leaning into Ryan's touch. "I've been feeling the same way. Afraid to risk what we have for what we might have." He smiled, a weight lifting from his chest. "Turns out we're both overthinking things." Ryan laughed softly, the sound warming the space between them. A shared trait, apparently. There was a moment of perfect stillness, of mutual recognition, before Ryan leaned forward, closing the distance between them. The kiss was gentle at first, a question being asked and answered in the same breath. Then it deepened, becoming more assured as they both surrendered to the feelings that had been building for months. Alex's hands found their way to Ryan's waist, a familiar position from their many hours of practice, now transformed into something entirely new. When they finally pulled apart, both slightly breathless, Ryan rested his forehead against Alex's. "I've been wanting to do that since about the second week of class," he confessed with a small laugh. Alex smiled, his heart fuller than he could remember it being in a very long time. "I might have been thinking about it for just as long," he admitted. They continued their walk, now hand in hand, discussing how their feelings had developed, the moments when each had wondered if the other felt the same, the uncertainty that had kept them from speaking sooner. There was a lightness to their conversation, the relief of truth finally spoken, of feelings acknowledged and returned. "So what happens now?" Alex asked as they approached his apartment building, reluctant for the evening to end. Ryan squeezed his hand gently. "Now we figure it out together. We keep dancing, keep learning, keep growing, just with a slightly different relationship than we had before." He smiled, the expression holding all the warmth and promise that Alex had come to associate with him. "I'm not in any rush. We have time." The weeks that followed were a beautiful exploration of their evolving relationship. They continued their classes at Elevate, their dynamic shifting subtly now that the nature of their connection had changed. Alex found himself more physically demonstrative, less hesitant to offer guidance through touch. Ryan, always the more naturally affectionate of the two, bloomed under this new openness, his joy palpable in every interaction. Outside the studio, they began the delicate dance of integrating their romantic relationship into their broader lives. They shared the news with their friend group during a dinner gathering, met with knowing smiles and good-natured teasing about how long it had taken them to recognize what everyone else had apparently seen for months. "Seriously, we were taking bets on when you two would finally figure it out," their friend Miguel admitted, raising his glass in a toast. To Alex and Ryan, proof that sometimes the most obvious things are the hardest to see. The group laughed and clinked glasses, celebrating this new development with genuine happiness for their friends. As summer turned to fall, their relationship deepened, each discovering new facets of the other that only increased their appreciation and affection. Ryan's spontaneity balanced Alex's methodical nature. Alex's thoughtfulness complemented Ryan's impulsivity. They challenged each other, supported each other, and found in their differences not obstacles but opportunities for growth. The pole dancing that had brought them together remained an important part of their shared life. Ryan continued to advance, his natural athleticism and dedicated practice earning him recognition within the studio community. Alex, while never taking to the pole himself, developed a deeper appreciation for the art form and its expressive possibilities. He became Ryan's most trusted critic and supporter, offering honest feedback and unwavering encouragement. 6 months after the showcase that had catalyzed their confession, they found themselves back at Elevate for another student performance. This time, Ryan had prepared a duet with another advanced student, a technically challenging piece that demonstrated how far he'd come. As Alex watched from the audience, he felt a profound sense of gratitude for the journey that had led them here, for Ryan's courage in pursuing something new, for his own willingness to step outside his comfort zone, for the series of choices that had transformed their friendship into something deeper and richer. After the performance, as they walked home through streets now familiar with shared memories, Ryan turned to Alex with a thoughtful expression. "Do you ever think about how different things might be if I hadn't asked you to come with me that first day? If you'd said no, or if I'd never gotten interested in pole dancing at all?" Alex considered the question, the infinite branching possibilities of life's decisions. "I think about it sometimes," he admitted. "But then I remember something my grandmother used to say, that the right people find each other, one way or another. If it hadn't been pole dancing, it would have been something else." He squeezed Ryan's hand. "We were already in each other's lives. Maybe we just needed the right circumstances to see each other clearly." Ryan nodded, his expression softening. "I like that thought, that we would have found our way to each other regardless." He paused, a smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "Though I have to say, I'm pretty fond of how it actually happened. There's something poetic about literally falling for someone while they're there to catch you." Alex laughed, pulling Ryan closer as they walked. "Very poetic. And literal. I lost count of how many times I actually had to catch you those first few weeks." Ryan's mock indignation dissolved into laughter as he leaned into Alex's embrace, their steps naturally synchronizing as they continued homeward. In the quiet moments, Alex sometimes marveled at the unexpected turn his life had taken. How a simple yes to an unusual request had opened the door to profound connection and joy. how supporting someone else's journey of self-expression had led to his own growth and discovery. How love, when given the right conditions, could bloom in the most unexpected places, even in a pole dancing studio on an ordinary Tuesday evening. As they reached their now shared apartment, Ryan paused before entering, turning to face Alex with an expression of quiet contentment. "You know what I realized today? It's been exactly 1 year since I first asked you to come to class with me." His eyes held Alex's, warm with memory and meaning. "Best decision I ever made." Alex smiled, feeling the truth of those words resonating in his own heart. "Best decision we ever made," he corrected gently, leaning in to kiss the man who had transformed his life through a simple invitation to try something new. As their lips met, Alex silently thanked whatever forces of chance or destiny had brought them to that moment in the bar a year ago, the moment that had changed everything. In the end, their story wasn't just about finding love in an unexpected place. It was about the courage to pursue passion, the willingness to support others in their journey, and the beautiful discoveries that await when we step outside the boundaries of our comfortable routines. For Alex and Ryan, pole dancing had been the beginning, the first step on a path that continued to unfold before them, rich with possibility and shared adventure. And as they crossed the threshold into their home, hands intertwined and hearts aligned, both men carried the knowledge that the greatest journeys often begin with the simplest of questions. "Will you be there to spot me?" And the most life-changing answer: yes. Total _char_count, 18,895.